All right, here we have a very amazing, just beautiful Sikha of the Rebbe that the Rebbe said in 1991, Tafshin Nun Aleph. Tafshin Nun Aleph. These two Torah portions, Achrei Mot Kadoshim. And the Rebbe is going to explain here, this is a continuation of what he spoke about last week, which that was in last week's Torah portion. Exactly how are we going to bring the future redemption? And what does it mean, this future redemption by means of the Moshiach? What is it supposed to be? What are we working for? What are we striving for? What is the goal of this whole entire creation? Is it really possible that we can fulfill what Abraham wanted to do to benefit all mankind in this world? All mankind to be benefited in this world, that people will really reveal their true potential for good. And is it true that there is real good, true potential for good in every human being in the world? True potential. And what is good? So that's what we're going to explain here now. We're going to explain the whole idea of Mashiach is the goal of creation, the goal of Judaism. The whole creation was put into the hands of the Jews. The Jews are the chosen people. We're chosen by God to inform the whole entire world, like we just finished learning in the Mimer. How much God loves them, how that God is creating them, how every human being is infinitely important to God, how every human being is unique and different and special. And that this uniqueness and the difference between every human being, this has to really, really be stressed. Can't be stressed enough. Of course, there's the common factor is that we're all creator. We're all creations. God creates all of us. But the uniqueness of every single person, this is what Mashiach is going to bring out. And we're going to see how it's done. We're going to see how it's done. Here we go. Ready? Let's go. Bekesher, in connection, what was spoken about recently, regarding the total redemption of the world. Geula. I mean, I don't know if redemption is a good word. Redeeming. Geula means like the freedom, total freedom. We can call it. Is that a good word? There's a bee in my room. Oh, there we go. Did it go out? Yeah. All right. So the total redemption, the total revelation of all potential. We'll see. Let's see. Geula. For lack of a better word, we'll call it the redemption. The Geula Amitit V'Shlema, the total true redemption of all mankind, Jews first, Shemechakim lo, that we are waiting for, we are expecting it, B'kol Yom, that it should happen every single day, every single instant. U'Makavim, and we hope that it will come right now, like the law, we say the halacha, Sha'anoder shalo yishtayayin b'yom she'yavo Mashiach. If a person makes a vow, I swear to Hashem, I'm not making this vow now. I swear to Hashem, I am not going to drink wine on the day that Mashiach comes. So when Asur Lishtot Yain Olam, he can never drink wine. Why? And when does he have to start? Immediately. Take over miyad mamash. Immediately, he's forbidden to drink wine. Why? Because Mashiach is supposed to come immediately. This is a law. If so, what are we supposed to do in order to bring this redemption? And we've talked about this a lot of times. The Rebbe has said in a sikha that what is this redemption that's going to be? And so he gave the example, which I'll give it again. It says if a person has, let's say, a small tree that starts to grow, just a little twig going from the ground, and he puts a bucket over it, so it can't receive air, and it can't receive water, rain, and it can't receive sunlight. And so what happens is it withers. And wood, it just becomes a dry stick. And then if you remove, so that's the situation of the world, of all humanity in the time of exile. We're there and it's all potential. And then if you just remove this bucket, so now this little twig can receive water and air and sunlight. So suddenly it starts to grow. When it starts to grow, suddenly it becomes alive, vibrant, full. And it starts to grow up, and you see there's little leaves that appear. And then it gets even bigger. There's little flowers that appear. It gets even more large. The branches come out. You can sit under the branches, get shade. There's the fragrance of the flowers and just the appearance of the flowers, the beautiful white, beautiful flowers going all over, makes life first worthwhile. And then all of a sudden, wow, starts to grow fruits. And the fruits are red, they're colorful. You can eat them, they're nourishing, they're sweet, things that weren't there in the twig, but at all. You never dreamed it would be. And inside of each one of these fruits, there's also more seeds. They can grow more trees. So it's infinite. Says, well, that's the whole idea of the geula. The geula, the redemption, is taking off this bucket just so that you can reveal what's inside of each one of us. The amazing potential for good and for beauty, balance, nourishment, contribution, appreciation. Okay, so how is this going to happen? The whole entire world. So the Rebbe says it's going to happen, and we're waiting for it. The Jewish people are waiting. In the Maimonides, it says in the end that he's like the comprehensive work of all Torah law. He said that any Jew that doesn't really believe in this redemption and wait for it, as he's denying the whole entire Torah. Okay, so we have to know what it is, and we just a little bit we understood, but how are we going to bring it? It all depends on us, right? We just finished learning in the Kuti Torah that this world depends on us. So how do we do it? So therefore, we want to know how to bring it. This is the whole purpose of the creation. Matim, I think that it's a good idea, litakev, to delay a little bit, leba'er tochna, to explain exactly what is this redemption going to be. And now we can understand what has to be the work that we're going to do in order to bring it. And how we should prepare for it. This is the whole purpose of creation, right? It's going to make the whole thing worthwhile. We'll see. The content of everything we can see in its name. Also, it is in regarding to the future redemption. From the name, this name Geula, we can understand a little bit about contemplating, think about it. What does this mean? What is Geula? Right? Interesting. Usually everything that there is in the world, even the most common things, usually the name that they have shows something about the thing. Something about it, right? A car is not called an airplane. An airplane means something. The name indicates something about it. Well, especially the name in Hebrew. So let's think about this a little bit. The word for the future redemption is called Geula. Gimel, Aleph, Vav, Lamed, Hey. Geula. Inyan Geula, the whole idea of this future redemption, Mitsuya and B'Torah, but Bituim Shonim. It is found in the Torah in different expressions. It's expressed in the Torah in different ways. First of all, we have the 4 languages of redemption that are mentioned in the Torah when it talks about the God telling Moses, now I'm going to take the Jews out of Egypt. Taking the Jews out of Egypt, this was in a way the first Geula. This was the first redemption, if you want to call it. The first freedom. And God explained this redemption in 4 languages. He said, Hotzeti, Hitzalti, Go'alti, Velakakti. This is one of the reasons we take the 4 cups. We drink 4 cups in the Seder Pesach. God said to Moses, I'm going to take, this is the second Torah reading portion in the book of Exodus for Era. Hotzeti, I will take out, I will save, I will redeem, and I will take. And there's also veheveti, and I will bring. So these are all different languages of redemption. Even though the intention of each and every one of them is exactly the same thing. Going out of Egypt. God said, Moses, I'm going to take the Jews out of Egypt. This is just the beginning of this whole process, which is called going to freedom, to real freedom. So God here uses 5 different languages about this going to freedom. Hotzeti, itzalti, goalti, lakachti, veheveti. Yeshno, iloi, belashem, geula. But nevertheless, from all these languages, the one that says geula, gaalti, there's something special about this word. Yeshlomo, we can say shebegalal ma'alazu, because of this. Therefore, all redemptions are called geula amitit v'shlema. The ultimate redemption is called the true and complete redemption. And in general, it's called geula. This is the geula. Zol shanzan the geula, zol shanzan the geula. It should all come the geula, the redemption. Especially this last geula, this last freedom is going to be a true one and a complete one. So because this word, geula, this expresses the whole content and the meaning of the true redemption and complete redemption, so therefore it's given this name geula. Now let's investigate this word geula. Let's consider. But mila geula, in the word geula, we see a very amazing thing. This is the purpose of Judaism, right? Geula, the redemption. Well, we see something very amazing. Geula, ham oto otiot, there's the same exact letters as the word gola, as exile. Worst thing in the world. The worst thing there can be is exile. Gola, galut. The only difference between these two words is that there's an ALEF. So galut, we said, that's like a person, like we said, like the stick that's under let's take an example, a more shocking example, a person that's in a coma. A person that is in a coma. I just read a few weeks ago, there was a person that, what was he? He was in a coma for like 20 years. And the doctors were telling his wife, pull the plug. And she said, no, she's not. And he came to. There's a lot of stories like that. But a person, when he's in a coma, what is he? All he is like a nothing, right? Like a big blob of meat. Nothing. He can't talk, he can't feed himself, he barely can breathe. He has no potential, he can't think, he can't express, he can't sing, he can't draw pictures, he can't dance, can't do anything. That's geula. That's how the whole world is now. It says the whole world is going to be like a dream. Maybe when he's in this situation, a person is a coma, maybe dreams, who knows? Okay, the Isa b'midrash, like it says in the midrash, the word gola, exile, gola al rosho, that there are 2 meanings. Train Amorain. 2 great rabbis argued about the meaning gola. One said gola, it's a vision of one of the prophets, and they said he saw a gola on his head. Gola. What is a gola? One said it means the exile, and one said it means redemption. Gola. You're doing it's known the meaning of this. Shetos was ALEF, that when you put this letter ALEF into the word gola, it transforms it to geula. Gola is the worst. That's the exile. That's when the Jews are in a comatic state, the whole world. And geula is exactly the opposite. Geula is when everything, all potential is revealed. What's the difference between them? Just the letter ALEF. The letter ALEF, that by means of this, an interesting thing. I mean, when a person is in a coma, let's say a child, God forbid, is born in a coma. Child is born in a coma, right? And the doctors say, never saw anything like it. We don't know what to tell you. We don't know. We can try different things, different stimulations. Nothing works. Will he come to? I don't know. Could be. Never happened before. But for sure, when a person's in a coma, he doesn't know that he's in a coma. And especially if he gets used to it. Not hard to get used to things. That's adding this letter Aleph. This refers what is the Aleph that we're supposed to put into the exile, into this coma, the galut, to make us come and reveal all of our potential. What is this Aleph? Aleph Alufo Shalom is God. God is called the Alufo Shalom, the master of the world. Al Yadei Avodah Social Yehudi, by means of a Jew, bringing and trying to draw this Aluf, the master of the world, into the exile. By means of this, there is made Geula. That's the whole story. Says the Rebbe, it doesn't make any sense. It's not understood. Geula, redemption, is the opposite of Galut. Galut is the worst thing in the world. It's like saying, good news, right? Your son is not in a coma, he's in a coma. What does that mean? What does that mean? That's what he's saying. Galut is like the whole world is in this comatic state, worst thing possible, on the verge of death, and just a little difference between two of them. And Geula is the total opposite. That's the ultimate humanity, ultimate expression of potential, how we're made in God's image. A person is in a coma, he's like in the image of a steak. He's a nothing, is a person. When a person is Geula, that's the true humanness of humanity is revealed. If so, how can it possibly be that the word Geula includes in it, the redemption includes in it the worst letters possible, Galut? Even more, Geula is made up from the word Gola. Not only is the word Geula consisting of all these letters that make up this terrible, diseased, comatic state, which is called Gola, but the majority of the letters of Geula, of redemption, are Gola. In other words, the majority, in this case, what is it? 80% of the word Geula, redemption, 80%, right? There's 5 letters. So 80% of it is the word exile. Hosafa Iraq ALEF Yechida. Bagam Rosh Teva is called Gimel, the Gola. The beginning letter is called Gola. It's like religious people calling their child, their son, Hitler. Who would call it? What religious Jew? What any human being? A human being would call their child Hitler. But that's what we got here. We have that the future redemption is called by the name of Gola, exile, worst thing in the world. We just add one little Aleph, and that is the whole future redemption. How can this be? Says the Rebbe, I'll tell you the explanation. Geula, when we're talking about the redemption, the future redemption, that doesn't mean that by means of Yetzirah Migalos, that when we go out of the exile, we're leaving life. Right? The future redemption we're waiting for is not to go to heaven. We're all going to be up there in heaven, all basking in the rays of God. And what about this world? Who needs it? The world is a terrible place. No, says Judaism, exactly the opposite. It's not that we're leaving what was the exile. We're not leaving it. Exactly the opposite. What does Geula mean? Geula means that the existence of the world that previously was in exile, now it becomes free. So maybe we can continue our example that I said. A person, when he's in a comatic state, right? So, there's really no comparison to what we're saying, but a comatic state, this is it. This is Uncle Joe, right? Here he is. We don't see his potential. We don't see he can move. We don't see anything. You don't see. As soon as all you have to do is just put this little pill in his mouth, and all of a sudden everything changed. There's the well-known story, which all of Hasidut is based on, is the story with the king and his dying son, which even if you know the story, I'll tell it again because I also know the story, but it's interesting and amazing every time it's told. The story was told like this, that once the Alter Rebbe was walking with his teacher, the Maggid of Mezrich, and another great pupil called Rav Pinchas Mikoretz. And Rav Pinchas Mikoretz was very against spreading out the ideas of Hasidut. And he would talk about it regularly. One day they were walking down the street and they saw one of these pages of Hasidic writings that was laying in the gutter. In those days, the gutter was a real gutter. You know, it was the sewage would. So he said to the Maggid of Mezrich, the teacher, this is what happens when you teach to spread out the ideas of Hasidut. So the Alter Rebbe, he was very young. He was walking with him and he said, this is necessary to save the Jewish people. I'll tell you a mashal. How do you say? I'll give you a parable. That once there was a king and he had a son and the son was dying. It got worse and worse. None of the wise men knew what to do. The king finally, to the point where the king's son was almost on the verge of death and the king was going wild. His heart was broken. He was insane. There came one wise man and said, Your Majesty, there's only one way to save your son, and that is to take that big diamond that's in the top of your crown and crush it up and then put it into water and put it in the son's mouth. But the situation is really dire. It's a big doubt if anything's going to go into his mouth. And even if anything goes in, it's a big doubt if he'll swallow it. But if he manages to swallow a little bit, then he's going to live. So the king said, crush it up. They brought a special method that this wise man had to figure out some special method to crush up the diamond. And the king is like, he's putting all of his glory on the line here. Without the king, without his crown, without the thing, it's like a joker's hat. So he crushes up the diamond and puts it into water, and the son is like just breathing his last. And they try to pour some in his mouth, and like 99% of it spills out on the ground. And finally, they figure a way to put a straw in his mouth, and they put it in. And 99% of what they do manage to get into his mouth, he spits out and he coughs up. But one little tiny drop went into the son's the throat. He swallowed it, and the son became alive, healed him. He said, that's Hasidut. The ideas of Hasidut are taking the secrets of Kabbalah, the precious secrets of God, the diamond in the crown of God. The crown of God is the Torah, and crushing it up and making it. And it could be that a lot of it will spill out, and a lot of it, he said, that what you saw on the ground, that's what spilled out. But if a little bit goes in, it's going to save the Jewish people. So that's the whole idea, that the Jewish people are there. The king's son is there, but he's in a coma. He's almost dead. Prepare the coffin. Prepare the burial grounds. And all of a sudden comes along one wise man and says, Your Majesty, I can save him. You just have to add a little something. All you have to do is add a little bit of light, ALEF, or light. Haga'ula, the future redemption, will be a complete and total redemption, which implies, I'm sorry. That's right. Geula means, I'm sorry. Geula doesn't mean that everybody's going to go to heaven. It means that this world as it is will come alive. The main thing with the future redemption is that everything will be free. All good will be freed. Nothing will be lost. We'll see why God is creating the world. He's not creating the world to get out of here. It's not just this big maze that God is watching us to see if we can find our way out or not. No. Lo yatiru shum inyan begalot. It means that the whole world is tremendously meaningful. It's all a big miracle. But now, afilu nidachim, even the lowest people, the people that are furthest away, that the Torah calls them lost cases, nevertheless, everybody will be redeemed. It says, we say, Jewish people, we say every day in this Aleinu prayer, Yifnu elecha kol rish e'oretz, all the evil people in the world will turn to you, God. You're the creator. You create them, everyone will snap to. The redemption will be the total redemption in quantity and in quality, in everything. Like I gave you the example of the tree. All of a sudden the tree gets bigger and bigger, but also there's new things that weren't there before: taste, smell, nourishment, color. From the greatest generalities to the details of the most seemingly insignificant details. Every single Jew, all of the Jews, our children, our elders, our sons, our daughters, even everything in the world, the money, the gold, the silver, everything that we have, everything that's around us, everything that we've done, the redemption will redeem, will free every human being and all human beings, even the non-Jews, all matters of the world, everything and every detail in creation. All of the details in the exile, all the positive things which are in the exile will remain as they are. There are things that will stop. There won't be any more disease. There won't be any more war. The world can get along okay without diseases. It can get along all right without addictions. Huh? The world does not need addictions. The world does not need war. It doesn't need murder. It doesn't need depression. It doesn't need aggression. The world can get along really good without these things. Those things are only results of the lack of positivity. Everything in the world will remain, but it will stop being in exile. Right? Like Uncle George, whatever, all of a sudden he comes out of his coma, everything is there. His legs are the same, and his eyes are the same, and his teeth are the same, and his tongue is the same, and his brain is the same. It's just everything becomes awake. They'll be concealed, they'll be removed, all of the things that conceal the true existence of the world, the purpose of the world, how the world is, instead of the world being, I say, subservient to nature, and people think that nature is God, suddenly everyone will realize that no, nature can be an expression of the Creator, as we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Pretty amazing, huh? Now let's learn just the Yom Yom of today. Yom Yom Chabad. Our sages said, a person should not leave your friend except with words of Torah. The Rebbe's explain of Chabad, this word should be a word of Torah. It says Dvar Halacha. It says not just a word of Torah, but a law. Now in Hebrew, the word for law is halacha, and the word halacha means to walk. So it says, when you leave your friend, if you take leave of a good friend, then you should say a word of halacha, a thing that makes a person a mover, dynamic, means to raise from level to level with one ascent after another. Like we're talking about this geula, more life. And this embodies the superiority of the soul over the angels. The angels they elevate, it says they go up in a very gradual way. But we can do acts of goodness, doing a favor for someone else, a spiritual favor in particular. This can really make us holech, to jump from one level to the other, and to have an elevation even higher than the angels have by doing a good deed or a favor to someone in this physical world. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Thank you very much for coming, and tell your friends to also come, and have a good day with Moshiach. Now, 3 o'clock, we're going to learn the Chumash today. We're going to learn the laws in this week's Torah portion. The two portions together have like 100-something laws. We'll learn some of them, God willing. Very interesting. See you at 3 o'clock. Have a good day. Shalom u'bracha. Shalom.